The transport ship touched down on Meridian Prime with barely a whisper. Tae-sung stood at the viewport, watching the massive station grow larger as they approached. It was his first time seeing anything like this. The station stretched for miles in every direction, a city floating in space where hundreds of alien species lived and worked together. Nervous? Jiwoo asked, stepping beside him. She adjusted her diplomatic uniform and smiled slightly. A little, Tae-sung admitted. He was a security officer, trained in the Korean Special Forces before joining Earth's first interstellar delegation. Nothing in his training prepared him for this moment. The docking bay doors opened, and the human delegation stepped out onto alien soil for the first time. The air smelled different. It was cleaner somehow, filtered and recycled through systems Tae-sung could not begin to understand. Around them, aliens of every shape and size moved about their business. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others had 4, 6, or even more. Some floated. Some slithered. A group of security officers approached. The leader was massive, easily 8 feet tall with scaled green skin and yellow eyes that seemed to look right through Tae-sung. This was Commander Vorn of the Kresh species. His people were known throughout the galaxy as warriors. The humans have arrived, Vorn said. His voice was deep and rumbling. Smaller than I expected. Jiwoo stepped forward with a diplomatic smile. Commander Vorn, thank you for receiving us. We are honored to be here. Vorn looked down at her, then at the rest of the human delegation. His eyes lingered on Tae-sung, taking in his modest height and build. You will be staying in the low-gravity residential quarters, Level 7. It is designed for fragile species who cannot withstand normal station conditions. That's very considerate, Jiwoo said, though Tae-sung noticed the slight tightness in her voice. Another alien approached. This one looked like a giant insect with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles. I am Science Officer Ilthor of the Chitrak, the creature said. Its voice came from a translator device. I have studied your species. Your planet has only one gravity. You have no exoskeleton. Your bite force is weak. You cannot survive extreme temperatures. I am curious how your species survived long enough to develop space travel. Tae-sung felt his jaw tighten, but he said nothing. Jiwoo handled the diplomacy. Humans are survivors, Science Officer. We adapt. We shall see, Ilthor said, turning away. The delegation was led through the station. Everywhere they went, aliens stopped to stare. Some pointed. Some whispered. Tae-sung heard the words fragile and weak more than once, even through the translation devices. They arrived at a large ceremonial hall where the welcome reception was being held. The room was enormous, with a ceiling that stretched up into darkness. Hundreds of aliens filled the space, representing dozens of species from across the interstellar coalition. A tall, bird-like alien with silver feathers approached. Welcome, humans. I am Council Member Kelnara of the Sylph. Please do not let the others discourage you. Every species faces skepticism when they first join the coalition. Thank you, Jiwoo said warmly. That means a great deal. The reception continued for hours. Tae-sung stood at attention, watching everything. He noticed how the other security officers carried themselves. They were all large, heavily muscled beings who moved with confident power. Compared to them, he looked like a child. At one point, Vorn announced a demonstration. We will now conduct a routine gravity endurance test for our security personnel. This is standard procedure, performed weekly to maintain readiness. A section of the floor lit up. The gravity in that zone increased visibly. Tae-sung could see the air shimmer as the field activated. The display showed 3.5 G. 3 security officers stepped into the zone. One was Vorn himself. The others were equally massive creatures from species Tae-sung did not recognize. They stood in the high gravity, performing various movements and exercises. Their muscles strained, but they handled it well. After 5 minutes, they stepped out, breathing heavily but unbowed. This is the minimum standard for station security, Vorn announced. All security personnel must be able to operate effectively in enhanced gravity situations during emergencies. He looked directly at the human delegation. Perhaps the humans would prefer to return to their quarters. The station keeps these quarters at 0.6 G for your comfort. We understand that normal station gravity of 1 G is difficult for your species. Tae-sung felt something snap inside him. The condescension, the assumption of weakness, the mocking tone. He had spent his entire life training, pushing himself, serving his country. He had not come all this way to be treated like a fragile decoration. Before Jiwoo could respond diplomatically, Tae-sung stepped forward. I would like to volunteer for the security qualification trials, he said clearly. The hall went silent. Every eye turned toward him. Jiwoo looked shocked. Vorn's expression shifted from boredom to amusement. You? Vorn said. A human? You wish to undergo the security trials? Yes, Commander, Vorn laughed. It was a deep booming sound that echoed through the hall. Other aliens joined in. Little human, the preliminary physical assessments alone would kill you. The trials are designed for warrior species. You have no armor plating, no natural weapons. You cannot even survive in your own planet's oceans without artificial breathing equipment. I still volunteer, Taesung said. Vorn's laughter died. He studied Taesung with those yellow eyes. You are serious. Yes, Commander. The trials will break you. You will require medical extraction within the first hour. Your species will be humiliated before the entire coalition. That is my risk to take. Jiwoo stepped beside him. Taesung, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do, he said quietly. They need to see what humans can do. Vorn crossed his massive arms. Very well. The trials begin in 3 days. I will allow this, so that the coalition can witness firsthand the limitations of humanity. Perhaps it will help your species understand its proper place in the galaxy, the crowd murmured with excitement. Taesung could hear the aliens already making bets on how quickly he would fail. That night, back in the human quarters, Jiwoo found Taesung reviewing training materials. You really meant it, she said, every word. They expect you to fail. They want you to fail? I know, so why do this? Taesung looked up at her. Because someone has to show them what humans are capable of. They look at us and see weakness. They think because we don't have scales or claws or armor that we are fragile, but they don't understand what it took for humanity to survive on Earth. They don't know what we had to become to make it to the top of our world. And what's that? Stubborn, Taesung said with a slight smile. Humans are really, really stubborn. Jiwoo sat down across from him. The whole galaxy is going to be watching. Good, Taesung said. Let them watch. The arena was massive. Taesung stood at the entrance looking out at the enormous space where the security trials would take place. Above him, viewing galleries rose in tiers already filling with spectators. It seemed like half the station had come to watch the human fail. Your vitals are good, Hyejin said, checking the monitor attached to his suit. She was the human medical officer, and she looked worried. But Taesung, if anything feels wrong, you signal me immediately. Pride is not worth your life, I understand. I mean it. These trials have killed candidates before. Strong candidates from warrior species, Taesung nodded. He understood the risks. He had spent the last 3 days studying every piece of information he could find about the trials. He had trained in the human quarters, gradually increasing the gravity to prepare his body. But nothing could fully prepare him for what was coming. The other candidates began to arrive. There were 12 in total, including Taesung. The others were all massive beings. One was a four-armed giant called Raxus, who currently served as the station's security chief. He was nearly 10 feet tall, with gray skin like stone and muscles that looked like they could crush metal. Another candidate was a creature that looked like a bear crossed with a lizard, covered in thick fur and scales. A third had 6 legs and moved like a predatory cat. They all stared at Taesung. Some looked amused. Others looked confused, as if they could not understand why a human was there. Vorn entered the arena, his presence commanding immediate attention. Welcome, candidates. Today you will prove your worth. The trials consist of 3 parts: endurance, problem-solving, and combat. Only those who pass all 3 will be certified for coalition security operations. He paused, his eyes finding Taesung. For those who cannot continue, simply raise your hand. Medical teams will extract you immediately. There is no shame in recognizing your limitations. The first trial began. The gravity in the arena floor increased to 2.8 G. Taesung felt the weight immediately, like someone had placed a heavy pack on his back and shoulders. Around him, the other candidates seemed unbothered. They were built for this. You will run the course carrying 40 kilograms of equipment, Vorn announced. The course is 5 kilometers over rough terrain. You have 1 hour. Taesung picked up his equipment pack. It felt incredibly heavy in the increased gravity. He strapped it on and moved to the starting line. The course began. Immediately, the larger candidates surged ahead. They ran like machines, their powerful legs eating up distance. Taesung started slower, finding his rhythm. Each step felt like he was lifting his entire body weight plus the pack. His muscles burned. In the viewing galleries, aliens were already laughing and pointing. He heard their voices through his communicator. The human will not last 10 minutes. Look at him struggle. He can barely lift his feet. This is embarrassing. Why did they allow this? Taesung ignored them. He focused on breathing, on moving, on the next step. His training kicked in. He had run countless kilometers back on Earth through mountains and forests carrying heavy gear. His body knew how to do this. It had evolved to do this. 15 minutes passed. Some of the larger candidates began to slow. They had sprinted at the start, using their superior strength, but now they were breathing hard. Taesung maintained his steady pace. His body was cooling itself efficiently through sweat, something he noticed the other candidates could not do. They were overheating, their bodies struggling to release excess heat. 30 minutes. The candidate that looked like a bear lizard stopped running and sat down heavily. It waved for medical extraction. 2 more candidates were falling behind, their powerful muscles twitching with fatigue. Taesung kept running. His pace never changed. Step after step, kilometer after kilometer. This was what humans did. His ancestors had hunted by chasing prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They had survived by outlasting everything else. That ability was written into his genes. By the 40-minute mark, Taesung had passed 3 more candidates. In the viewing galleries, the laughter had stopped. Aliens were watching in confused silence as the small human maintained his pace while larger, stronger beings fell behind. Raxus finished first, crossing the line after 48 minutes. He was breathing heavily but still strong. 3 other candidates finished in the next few minutes. Then Taesung crossed the line. 53 minutes. He had finished in the middle of the pack. Vorn looked at him with something like surprise. "Acceptable," he said slowly. The second trial began after a short rest period. The candidates entered a simulation chamber. The task was to navigate through a hostile environment with failing equipment, locate survivors, and extract them to safety. The catch was that the gravity would fluctuate, systems would malfunction, and physical obstacles would need to be overcome. This was where Taesung excelled. The other candidates relied on strength, trying to force their way through problems. When a door was stuck, they smashed it. When equipment failed, they used backup power through sheer force. Taesung used his hands. Human hands were unique in the galaxy. His opposable thumbs and precise grip allowed him to manipulate small objects with incredible accuracy. When a control panel short-circuited, he carefully rewired it. When a passage was blocked, he found an alternate route instead of exhausting himself breaking through. He thought creatively. He adapted. He improvised. These were human strengths, born from a species that had survived by being clever rather than powerful. The trial took 2 hours. Taesung finished third behind Raxus and 1 other candidate. Vorn's expression was no longer amused. It was thoughtful. "The human shows unexpected competence," Ilthor said from the viewing gallery. "However, the combat trial will reveal the truth. Physical strength cannot be substituted with creativity." The third trial was combat assessment. Each candidate would face opponents in close-quarters scenarios. Taesung watched as the other candidates fought. They were brutal and powerful. Raxus fought like a mountain, unmovable and crushing. Others used claws, tails, natural armor. Then it was Taesung's turn. His first opponent was a mid-sized alien, about 7 feet tall with 4 arms and tough skin. The creature rushed forward confident. Taesung had been training in martial arts since childhood. He used the alien's size against it, dodging and striking at weak points. He lost the match, but he made the alien work for it. He landed solid hits. He showed technique. His second opponent was faster. Taesung lost again, but he learned from the first fight. He adapted his strategy. His third opponent was heavily armored. Taesung realized he could not win through damage. Instead, he focused on stamina, making the fight last, forcing the opponent to exhaust itself. He still lost, but it took longer. Between each match, medical teams checked him. Heejin looked worried at the bruises forming on his body. "You should stop," she said. "Not yet," Taesung replied. The final combat test was against Raxus himself. The massive security chief stepped into the ring, looking down at Taesung. "You have done well, human," Raxus said. "Better than anyone expected. But this ends now," the fight began. Raxus was incredibly strong and surprisingly fast for his size. His first strike sent Taesung sprawling. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. He felt his shoulder wrench painfully. The crowd expected him to signal for extraction. Instead, Tae-sung rolled with the impact and pushed himself up. Raxus struck again. Tae-sung blocked but was driven backward. Another hit caught him in the ribs. Pain exploded through his side. He went down hard. Again, the crowd expected surrender. Again, Tae-sung stood up. "Stay down," Raxus said, not unkindly. "You have proven your courage." Tae-sung shook his head and raised his fists. They fought for 3 more minutes. Tae-sung lost, of course. Raxus was simply too strong, too experienced. But every time he was knocked down, Tae-sung stood back up. Without help. Without assistance. He just stood up and continued. When the match finally ended, the arena was silent. Tae-sung stood there, battered and bruised, breathing hard. But he was standing. Vorn stepped forward, looking at Tae-sung with an expression the human could not read. "You did not win." "No, Commander." "But you did not quit." "No, Commander." Vorn was quiet for a long moment. "I have never seen anything like you." 3 days passed since the trials. Tae-sung had become something of a celebrity on Meridian Prime. Aliens stopped him in corridors to talk. Some asked questions about Earth. Others wanted to shake his hand, fascinated by the precise grip humans possessed. A few asked if they could train with him. He was in the security office reviewing patrol schedules when the alarm started. The sound was deafening. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Every screen switched to emergency status. Vorn burst into the room, his face grim. Reactor sector, coolant leak, toxic atmosphere, and radiation. Tae-sung followed him to the command center. The main display showed the reactor area in critical condition. Engineers in protective suits were evacuating rapidly. "What happened?" Raxus demanded, arriving at the same time. "Sabotage," a technician reported. "Someone deliberately damaged the coolant systems. We are trying to identify who, but right now we have a bigger problem." Bora, a human engineer who had been working with the station's maintenance crew, pulled up technical schematics. "The automated systems are not responding. Something has damaged the control circuits. If we cannot engage the emergency containment, the reactor will go critical." "Time?" Vorn asked. 47 minutes, Bora said quietly. "Maybe less." The command center erupted in organized chaos. Engineers worked frantically at their stations. Security teams secured potential evacuation routes. Command staff tried to coordinate responses. "Can we use remote drones?" Raxus asked. "No," Bora said. "The radiation is interfering with signals. They lose connection within seconds of entering the contaminated zone." "Then someone has to go in manually," Vorn said. Everyone looked at the display. The path to the emergency containment controls was a nightmare. Collapsed structures from the explosion. Toxic gas thick enough to see. Heat from the failing coolant systems. And worst of all, the gravity near the reactor core was 4.2 G, due to the station's rotating sections and the density of the reactor itself. "I will go," Raxus said immediately. "You cannot," Bora said, checking the readings. "You are too large. The collapsed passages will not allow your size through. And the gravity, even you cannot sustain 4.2 G for the time needed." Raxus tried anyway. They watched on cameras as the massive security chief pushed into the contaminated zone. He made it through the first 2 sections, his strength carrying him forward. But at 3.7 G, his body began to fail. His legs shook. His breathing became labored. He collapsed. Medical teams extracted him with difficulty. He was alive but unconscious. Other security officers volunteered. A swift cat-like alien made it further before the toxic atmosphere overwhelmed its respiratory system. A heavily armored species could not fit through the collapsed passages. One by one, they tried and failed. Time continued counting down. 31 minutes remaining. Do Hyun, a human journalist who had been documenting humanity's integration into the coalition, was in the command center recording everything. His camera captured the growing desperation as solutions failed. "We need to evacuate the station," someone said. "We cannot evacuate 30,000 beings in 30 minutes, Vorn said, "and there is nowhere to go. The blast radius will destroy every ship in docking range." "Then we die," an alien said quietly. "No." Everyone turned. Tae-sung stood at the entrance to the command center. "Not yet," Tae-sung, Jiwoo said, reading his intention immediately. "No, absolutely not." He walked to the display and studied the path. The distance. The obstacles. The conditions. His mind calculated automatically. I can run that far, he said. You will die, Vorn said flatly. The radiation alone will kill you in minutes. The toxic atmosphere will burn your lungs. The heat will cook you, and no one, not even you, can function in 4.2 G. Earth is 1 G, Taesung said. I have trained in up to 3 G. I have never tried 4.2 G, but I can attempt it. Attempt? Vorn said. You will have one chance. If you fail, you die and we all die. Then I will not fail, Heejin grabbed his arm. Taesung, I am your doctor. I am telling you that this will kill you. The radiation exposure alone is unsurvivable. How long until it kills me? She checked her medical database. At those levels, you might have 10 minutes before your body starts shutting down, 20 before death becomes certain. The manual override is 7 minutes in, Bora said, if he can reach it. I need to hold the lever for how long? Taesung asked. 3 minutes. The system needs constant pressure while it routes the coolant. So 10 minutes total. I have 10 minutes before radiation sickness becomes critical. In theory, Heejin said desperately. Taesung, please. There has to be another way. He looked at her, then at Jiwoo, then at all the faces in the command center. Aliens of every species watching him. There is no other way. And there are 30,000 people on this station. The math is simple. Jiwoo stepped in front of him. You cannot ask us to watch you die. I am not asking. I am telling you I can do this. He put his hands on her shoulders. Have faith. Humans are survivors. We do not die easily. He removed his jacket and handed it to her. He stripped down to his basic suit, removing anything unnecessary. Weight would matter in the high gravity. I need the technical specifications, he told Bora. Tell me exactly what I need to do. She explained the procedure. It was complex, but not impossible. Reach the console. Bypass the safety locks. Pull the emergency lever. Hold it for 3 minutes while the system cycled. Do all of this while being cooked by radiation, poisoned by toxic gas, and crushed by gravity. Simple enough, Taesung said. You are insane, Vorn said, but there was something like respect in his voice. Taesung approached the sealed entrance to the contaminated zone. He wore a minimal protective suit that would do almost nothing against the conditions inside, but it was better than nothing. A helmet with 30 minutes of air, a communicator so they could guide him, a camera so they could watch. 23 minutes remaining, the computer announced. I am ready, Taesung said. The door opened. Heat rolled out like a physical wave. Taesung took one breath of clean air, then stepped through. The camera feed appeared on every screen in the command center. The image was grainy, distorted by radiation, but they could see him moving forward. The first section was relatively clear. He ran, his body adapting to the increased gravity as it ramped up from 1G to 2G to 3G. Gravity at 3.2G. Bora reported. He is maintaining pace. Taesung reached the first collapse section. Twisted metal blocked the corridor. He climbed, squeezing through gaps that would have been impossible for larger species. His human flexibility and smaller size were advantages here. Gravity at 3.8G, Bora said. Taesung, you need to slow down. Your heart rate is too high. No time, he said through gritted teeth. Every movement felt like lifting enormous weight. His muscles screamed. His bones ached. But he moved forward. In the command center, aliens watched in absolute silence. Even Do-hyun had stopped recording to simply stare at the screen. Radiation levels critical, Heejin reported, her voice shaking. He is being exposed to lethal doses. 4 minutes in, Bora said. 3 more minutes to the console. On screen, they saw Taesung stumble. The gravity was crushing him. 4.1 G now. His legs shook with every step. Sweat poured down his face, fogging his helmet. I can see it, he gasped. The console. 2 minutes, the computer announced. 2 minutes to critical failure. Taesung fell. His legs simply gave out under the gravity. He hit the floor hard. Everyone in the command center held their breath. For 3 seconds, he did not move. Then his hands pressed against the floor. His arms shook. Inch by inch, he pushed himself up. The gravity was trying to crush him flat, but he refused. He got to his knees, then to his feet. Impossible, someone whispered. He staggered forward. 10 meters to the console, then 5. Then 1, his hands found the controls. They were shaking so badly he could barely manipulate them. Blood ran from his nose inside the helmet, a sign of the radiation damage already occurring. Bypass. Done, he said. His voice was weak. Pulling lever. Hold it for 3 minutes, Bora reminded him. Do not let go no matter what. Understand. 3 minutes. In the command center, it felt like 3 hours. They watched Tai-Sung grip the lever with both hands. His body was failing. They could see it in the way he swayed, in the trembling of his arms. His vital signs are critical, Hyojin said, tears in her eyes. His body is shutting down. Hold on, Jiwoo whispered. Please hold on. 2 minutes passed. Tae-sung's legs gave out. He fell to his knees, but his hands never left the lever. System at 80%, Bora reported. 1 more minute. Tae-sung's hands were slipping. Blood from his nose covered his faceplate. His body shook with radiation sickness, but his fingers remained locked around the lever. 90%. His eyes were closing. Consciousness was fading. 95%. Stay awake. Vorn shouted at the screen. Human, stay awake! Containment engaged! Bora suddenly yelled. Reactor stabilizing. He did it. The command center erupted in celebration. But Jiwoo and Heejin were already running. Medical teams rushed toward the reactor sector with extraction equipment. On screen, they saw Tae-sung release the lever. He collapsed completely, his body finally giving in. But the display behind him showed green. The reactor was contained. The station was saved. Get him out, Vorn ordered. Move! The medical isolation ward was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. Tae-sung lay in a specialized bed surrounded by equipment from a dozen different species. His body was fighting the worst radiation poisoning the station's doctors had ever treated. He should be dead, one doctor said softly. The exposure he received was 5 times the lethal dose for most species. But he is not dead, Heejin said firmly. She had not left his side in 3 days. Humans are more resistant to radiation than you realize. Our cells repair damage more efficiently. It is another adaptation from Earth. Will he survive? Elderthis asked. The ancient being visited daily. Yes, Heejin said with absolute confidence. He will survive. It will take time, but he will recover. Outside the medical ward, the station had transformed. Humans were no longer curiosities or diplomatic guests. They were heroes. The story of what Tai-sung had done spread across the entire coalition. Do-hyun's footage had been broadcast to every member world. In the command center, investigators had found the saboteur. A criminal named Zalvor had damaged the reactor systems, planning to escape during the chaos and sell coalition secrets. He was now in custody, facing charges that would keep him imprisoned for the rest of his life. He thought everyone would evacuate, Vorn explained to Jiwoo. He did not account for someone being willing to die to save others. He did not understand humans, Jiwoo said. The Coalition Council called an emergency session. Every member world sent representatives. The chamber was packed with aliens from across the galaxy. Elder Thighs spoke first. We gathered to discuss humanity's place in the coalition. 3 weeks ago, we questioned whether humans belonged here. Today, we have our answer. The ancient being gestured to a display showing Tai-sung's journey into the reactor sector. We measured humanity by their appearance and found them weak. We measured them by their biology and found them fragile. We were measuring the wrong things. Strength is not just muscle, Kelnara added. We have learned this. Humans possess strength of will, strength of spirit. They can be broken, yes, but they refuse to surrender. This is a strength we did not know existed, Vorn stood. I mocked the humans when they arrived. I laughed at their weakness. I was a fool. The Kresh commander looked uncomfortable admitting this. I have spent my life as a warrior. I thought I understood strength. Tae-sung taught me that I understood nothing. He walked into death to save people he barely knew, people who had mocked him. He did this without hesitation. The question before us is simple, another council member said. Do humans deserve full membership in the coalition? They deserve more than membership, Raxus said, standing beside Vorn. They deserve respect. They deserve recognition as equals. They have proven themselves beyond any doubt. I propose full membership, Elder Thais said, with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, I propose that humanity be invited to share their knowledge with the coalition, their medicine, their training methods, their philosophy of endurance. We have much to learn from them. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full coalition membership. The chamber erupted in approval. In the medical ward, Tai-sung was conscious for the first time in 4 days. His body still ached, but the worst had passed. Heejin smiled when his eyes opened. Welcome back, she said. Did I? His voice was rough. Did it work? You saved 30,000 lives, she said. The reactor is stable. Everyone is safe. He tried to sit up. His body protested. The trials? Forget the trials. You did something no one thought possible. The entire galaxy is talking about you. Jiwoo entered, carrying her data pad. He is awake. Thank the stars. She sat beside the bed. Taesung, you are a hero. Do you understand that? You are a hero to the entire coalition. I just did what needed to be done. That is what makes it heroic, Jiwoo said. You saw a problem and you solved it, even though it nearly killed you. Over the following days, Taesung's condition improved rapidly. The doctors were amazed at his recovery rate. What should have taken months took weeks. Human healing capabilities were being documented for coalition medical journals. Visitors came constantly. Aliens from dozens of species wanted to meet him, to thank him, to understand him. Taesung found it overwhelming but accepted it gracefully. Raxus visited frequently. The massive security chief had taken a personal interest in human training methods. Teach me, he said simply. Teach me how to be like you. I am nothing special, Taesung protested. You are wrong, Raxus said. You are human. That is very special indeed. 2 weeks after the incident, Taesung was cleared to leave medical isolation. He walked through the station to find it transformed. Humans were everywhere now, working alongside aliens in every department. More had arrived from Earth, eager to join the coalition. A group of human security officers was in the training arena. Taesung recognized some faces from Earth's military. Others were new recruits. They were teaching aliens the principles of endurance training. Steady pace, one instructor was saying. Do not sprint. Save your energy. The goal is not to be fastest. The goal is to outlast. Alien trainees were learning. Slowly they were beginning to understand that there were different types of strength. Bora had been promoted to chief engineer. She was working with teams from multiple species, sharing human approaches to problem solving. Humans think differently, she explained to her team. We approach challenges from multiple angles. We improvise, we adapt. This is how we will improve station systems. Do Hyun's documentary about the reactor incident had become the most watched program in coalition history. He was now an official chronicler, documenting humanity's integration and sharing human stories across the galaxy. In the command center, Vorn and Raxus were reviewing new security protocols. We need more humans on the security force, Vorn said. Not instead of other species, but alongside them. They bring abilities we lack. Agreed, Raxus said. And we should train all security personnel in human endurance methods. Every species can benefit from learning persistence. A ceremony was held in the main plaza. Taesung stood before thousands of beings, human and alien alike. Elder Thais presented him with the Coalition Medal of Valor, the highest honor the galaxy could bestow. Let it be known, Elder Thais announced, that on this day, humanity proved itself. Not through weapons, not through conquest, but through sacrifice, courage, and an indomitable will to survive. Taesung represents the best of his species, and his species represents the best of what the coalition can be. The crowd erupted in applause. Aliens from species that had mocked humans now cheered for them. Taesung stood there, uncomfortable with the attention but accepting it with dignity. Later, at a private gathering with the human delegation, Taesung finally relaxed. You changed everything, Jiwoo said. In 3 weeks, you changed how the entire galaxy sees humanity. I just stood up when I needed to, he said. Exactly, Kyung-soo said. That is the human story in one sentence. We stand up when we need to. We do not give up. We do not quit. From the moment our ancestors stood upright on the African plains, we have been standing up, against predators, against nature, against impossible odds, and we are still standing. Heejin raised her glass. To standing up, they all repeated it. To standing up, months passed. The station adapted to its human population. Alien and human children played together in the residential sections. Mixed species teams worked in every department. Understanding grew. A new group of alien security recruits arrived for training. Among them was a young member of a species known for being small and weak by galactic standards. She looked nervous, surrounded by larger beings. Taesung approached her. First time training? Yes, she said. I am afraid. Everyone else is so much stronger. He smiled gently. Strength is not everything. I learned that from my own people. The question is not whether you are strong. The question is whether you can keep going when things are hard. What if I fall? Then you stand back up. Without help if you can, with help if you need it, but you stand up. That is what matters. The young alien looked at him with something like hope. You really believe that? I know that. My entire species knows that. We have been falling and standing up for millions of years. It is what we do best. The training session began. Tae-sung watched the recruits, human and alien alike, working together, learning from each other, growing stronger not through competition but through cooperation. Kelnara joined him in the observation area. You have given us a gift, the Sylph Council member said. You have shown us that we were thinking about strength wrong. For too long, the coalition valued power above all else. You reminded us that endurance matters, that persistence matters, that the will to continue matters. Every species has something valuable to contribute, Tae-sung said. Humans are not better than others. We are just different. Our strength is endurance. Others have different strengths. True, Kelnara said. But what you showed us applies to everyone. Every species can learn to persist, to endure, to stand up when they fall. That lesson is universal. On the training floor below, an alien recruit fell during an exercise. He lay there for a moment, clearly exhausted. His trainer, a human woman, approached. Need help? She asked. The alien looked at her, then at Tae-sung watching from above. He shook his head. No, I will try myself first. He placed his hands on the ground. The viewing galleries erupted in confused chatter. Aliens of every species leaned forward, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Tae-sung stood in the arena, his body aching but his eyes clear. He had been knocked down 7 times in that final match. 7 times he had stood back up without help. In the medical section, Kyung-soo, the human xenobiologist, found himself surrounded by curious aliens asking questions. How is this possible? One asked. We saw the impacts. They should have broken his bones. Human bones are denser than you think, Kyung-soo explained, and our skeletal structure is designed to absorb impacts. We evolved as hunters on a planet with one standard gravity. What you call high gravity is normal for us. But he was in the low-gravity quarters. Another alien protested. Kyung-soo smiled slightly. That was a courtesy we accepted to be polite. We did not need it. The station's normal gravity of 1G is exactly the same as Earth. When you put him in 2.8G, it was difficult, yes, but humans train in difficult conditions. We are built for endurance, a very old alien approached. This was Elder Thies, a silicon-based life form who had lived for centuries and served as the Coalition's historian. Its body looked like living crystal and its voice sounded like wind through caves. Tell me more about Earth, Elder Thies said. Tell me how humans evolved. Kyung-soo gestured to a display screen. Earth is a harsh planet. 1 gravity, extreme temperature variations, dangerous predators. Early humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most armored. We survived through something else. He showed images of Earth's plains and forests. We hunted through persistence. We would chase prey for hours, sometimes days. The prey would be faster, stronger, but it would tire. It would overheat. We would keep coming. Always. Our bodies evolved to run long distances, to cool efficiently through sweating, to heal quickly from injuries. We became the predators that never stopped. Fascinating, Elder Thies said. And this ability remains? Every human has it. Some more than others, but it is in all of us. Down in the arena, Vorn approached Tae-sung. I do not understand you, the Kresh commander said. I hit you hard enough to crack stone. You should be broken. I am injured, Tae-sung admitted. But not broken. How? Because pain is just information. It tells me I am damaged. But it does not control me. Vorn studied him. I want you to undergo additional testing, supervised by our medical staff. Why? Because if one human can do this, I need to know if all humans can do this. I need to understand what we are dealing with. Over the next several hours, Tae-sung underwent various tests. The alien medical staff checked his physiology, his reactions, his capabilities. They were amazed by what they found. His cardiovascular system is incredibly efficient, one doctor reported. His heart can sustain elevated rates for extended periods. His body stores energy effectively and recovers quickly. Look at his hands, another said. The dexterity is remarkable. He has more precise motor control than species we consider advanced in manipulation. His pain tolerance is beyond anything I have measured, a third added. He feels pain normally, but his brain can compartmentalize it. He can function effectively even while injured. In the viewing gallery, the attitude toward Tae-sung was shifting. The mockery had disappeared. Now there was curiosity and, in some cases, concern. If humans can do this, one alien said, what else can they do? Jiwoo arrived in the medical bay where Tae-sung was being examined. You made your point, she said. The entire station is talking about nothing else. Good, Tae-sung said. He winced as a doctor examined his shoulder. Your shoulder is dislocated, the doctor said. We will need to perform a procedure to reset it. I can do it myself, Tae-sung said. That is not recommended. The pain would be severe. I understand. Before anyone could stop him, Tae-sung stood and walked to the wall. He positioned his shoulder against a reinforced pillar. Then with a quick, hard motion, he slammed his body weight against it. There was a loud pop. The alien doctors gasped. Tae-sung grunted but did not cry out. He rotated his shoulder slowly, testing it. It is back in place, he said calmly. The medical bay went silent. Every alien in the room stared at him in shock. You... The doctor could not find words. Humans can reset dislocations if we know how, Tae-sung explained. It is painful, but we can do it. Yejin arrived and immediately scolded him. Tae-sung, you should have let them use proper medical equipment. This was faster, he said simply. Word of this spread even faster than the trial results. Aliens began to realize something important. Humans were not just durable. They were practical about injury. They could hurt themselves intentionally if it meant fixing a problem. They could function through pain that would incapacitate other species. Elderthus called for a gathering in the main council chamber. Aliens from across the station attended. The human delegation was invited to the center. We have witnessed something today, Elderthus said. We invited humans to join our coalition, but we did not understand them. We saw their physical form and made assumptions. We were wrong. The ancient being gestured to Tae-sung, who stood with his shoulder bandaged but his posture straight. This human endured what should have been impossible. He fell and rose. He was injured and continued. He felt pain and functioned through it. This is not an anomaly. This is humanity. They are predators, Vorn said, but his tone was not mocking now. It was respectful. Evolved on a death world, shaped by competition and survival. They won their planet not through strength but through refusal to surrender. Correct, Kyung-soo said, stepping forward to address the council. Humans are endurance predators. We are pursuit hunters. In Earth's history, humans hunted animals much larger and stronger than ourselves. We did not need to be faster in a sprint. We just needed to outlast them. We would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Sometimes this took hours, sometimes days. But we would not stop. He gestured to his own body. This is what that evolution created. Efficient cooling systems through sweat. Cardiovascular systems designed for sustained effort. Muscular systems that resist fatigue. Mental systems that can push through pain and discomfort. We are built to keep going when everything else has stopped. An alien in the audience spoke up. But humans die easily. You have no armor, no natural weapons. You can be killed by simple injuries. That is true, Jiwoo said. Humans are not invulnerable. We can die from things that other species might survive. But we have something else. We have medicine. We have technology. And we have each other. When a human falls, other humans help them stand. When a human is injured, other humans heal them. We survive not as individuals, but as a species. Raxus stood from his seat. The massive security chief looked at Tae-sung. I hit you with enough force to kill many beings. You stood back up, why? Because I needed to, Tae-sung said simply. Because quitting was not an option. Because I am human and humans do not give up. I want to train with you, Raxus said. I want to learn this. This persistence you have. I would be honored, Tae-sung replied. Kelnara, the silver-feathered council member, spoke next. I propose that we reconsider our understanding of humanity. They may not be strong in the ways we are familiar with, but they possess strengths we have not encountered before. Endurance, adaptability, determination. Agreed, Elderthus said. Let this be recorded in the Coalition archives. On this day, we learned that strength comes in many forms. The council session ended, but conversations continued throughout the station. Aliens approached human delegation members, asking questions, seeking to understand. That evening, Tae-sung sat in the human quarters with Jiwoo and Hyejin. His body ached, but he felt satisfied. You changed everything today, Jiwoo said. They see us differently now. They needed to understand, Taesung said. Words were not enough. I had to show them. By nearly killing yourself, Heejin said, still annoyed. I never thought I would die. Injured, yes, but not dead. I know my limits, do you? Jiwoo asked. You reset your own shoulder. That was insane. Taesung smiled. It was necessary. And it taught them something important. Humans do not fear pain. We respect it, but we do not let it control us. Outside the window, Meridian Prime's lights glittered in the darkness. Somewhere out there, aliens were talking about humans, about what they had witnessed, about what it meant. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's weakness was also humanity's strength. They could be hurt. They could fall. But they would always stand back up.